Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to another chapter of Ly Tu Huyen's journey. Today's story carries a weight that will touch the deepest corners of your heart. What happens when the past knocks on your door unexpectedly? When a father who was absent for so long asks for just one moment with his child? Can forgiveness bloom even in the most painful circumstances? Stay with us, because today you'll witness a moment that will change everything. Please watch until the end and don't forget to subscribe to follow more of our story. The morning sun filtered through the small windows of the humble house that Ly had built with his own hands. Huyen stood in the tiny kitchen, her hands moving with practiced grace as she prepared breakfast. The smell of rice porridge filled the air, mixed with the aroma of fresh herbs from their little garden. Maya sat on the floor nearby, playing with a wooden toy that Ly had carved for her, her laughter like tiny bells ringing through the quiet morning. Ly had left early for work in the fields, his silhouette disappearing into the morning mist as he walked down the mountain path. Huyen watched him go, as she did every morning, feeling grateful for this man who had given her and Maya a second chance at life. The peace of the morning was suddenly interrupted by a knock at the door. Huyen's hands paused mid-motion, her heart skipping a beat. Visitors were rare in this remote mountain area, and unexpected ones even more so. She wiped her hands on her apron and walked slowly to the door, a sense of unease creeping up her spine. When she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. Standing there was Maya's grandfather, Thuc's father, the man who had been away working in distant places when his wife had thrown Huyen and Maya out into the streets 3 years ago. The old man stood awkwardly at the threshold, his weathered face showing the years of hard labor under the sun. His eyes, however, held a softness that Huyen remembered from better days. He had always been kind to her, always treated Maya like a precious treasure, but he didn't know the truth. He believed the lie his wife had told him, that Huyen had abandoned the family, that she had walked away from their home with Maya in the middle of the night without a word. Huyen could see the confusion in his eyes now, mixed with something else, perhaps guilt or regret. "Huyen," he said softly, his voice rough with emotion. "I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to see my granddaughter." Maya heard her grandfather's voice and came running, her small feet pattering against the wooden floor. "Grandpa!" she cried out with pure joy, reaching up to hug his legs. The old man's face transformed, breaking into a smile as he bent down to scoop the little girl into his arms. Watching them together, Huyen felt her heart twist. Whatever had happened between her and Thuc, whatever lies had been told, this man genuinely loved Maya. That much was undeniable. They sat down at the small table, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words. Maya chattered happily, telling her grandfather about her life with her mother and Ly, about the chickens they raised, about the stream where they caught fish. The old man listened with tears gathering in his eyes, realizing perhaps for the first time how much he had missed of his granddaughter's life. Finally, he cleared his throat and looked at Huyen directly. "I came to ask you something," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "Thuc, he's asked to see Maya. He's been in prison for 3 years now, and he's been working hard, trying to reform himself. The guards say he's changed. He talks about his daughter every day. I know I have no right to ask this, but would you allow me to take Maya to see her father, just once?" The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Huyen felt her world tilting. Thuc, the man who had gambled away their savings, who had gotten involved in illegal activities for quick money, who had landed himself in prison just months after they were married. The man whose recklessness had led to her and their 3-year-old daughter being thrown out on the streets by his own mother. The nights of hunger, the days of wandering, the fear in Maya's eyes when they had nowhere to sleep. All of that came flooding back in an instant. Her hands clenched in her lap, Her breathing became shallow. How dare he ask to see Maya now? Where was he when his daughter was crying from hunger? Where was he when they slept in abandoned sheds, when Huyen had to beg for food? But then she looked at Maya, who was smiling at her grandfather, so innocent and trusting. She thought about Day, about his gentle wisdom, about how he had taught her that holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. She thought about the kind of person she wanted to be, the kind of mother she wanted Maya to see. Despite everything Thuc had done, despite all the pain he had caused, he was still Maya's father. Biology didn't disappear just because someone made terrible choices. And Maya, sweet Maya, deserved to know her father, even if he was far from perfect. She deserved the chance to form her own opinions, to have her own relationship with him, however complicated it might be. Huyen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. "Okay," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can take her, but only if Maya wants to go." She looked at her daughter, whose eyes were wide with curiosity. "Maya, sweetheart, your grandfather wants to take you to see your daddy. Do you want to go?" Maya nodded enthusiastically, though Huyen could see that the child didn't fully understand what it meant. To Maya, her father was more of a concept than a real person, someone her mother had mentioned, but who had never been part of her daily life. The old man's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Huyen. I know this isn't easy for you. I promise I'll take good care of her." Huyen stood up and walked to Maya, kneeling down so they were at eye level. She took her daughter's small hands in hers, looking deeply into those innocent eyes that reminded her so much of herself at that age. "Maya, listen to Mommy carefully, okay?" she said gently, brushing a strand of hair away from the little girl's face. "When you see Daddy, remember to smile and say hello to him. And tell him something for Mommy. Can you do that?" Maya nodded, her face serious now, sensing the importance of the moment. "Tell Daddy that he needs to come home soon and buy you that teddy bear you've been wanting. Can you remember that, sweetheart?" Maya's face broke into a bright smile. "Yes, Mommy. I'll tell Daddy to come home and buy me a teddy bear." She clapped her hands with excitement, making Huyen's heart both soar and break at the same time. Huyen went to the small cabinet where they kept Maya's clothes. She picked out the best outfit they had, a simple but clean dress that Day had bought at the market last month. She dressed Maya carefully, combing her hair and tying it with a ribbon. Every movement was deliberate, as if she were preparing her daughter for something sacred. In a way, she was. This was a moment that would stay with Maya forever. The first memory she would have of meeting her father. Huyen wanted her daughter to look beautiful, to make Thuc see what he had been missing, what he had lost through his own foolish choices. When Maya was ready, Huyen held her close for a long moment, breathing in the sweet scent of her daughter's hair, feeling the small heartbeat against her chest. "Be good, my darling," she whispered. "Mommy loves you so much." As she watched Maya and the old man walk down the path away from the house, Huyen felt tears threatening to spill from her eyes. She stood in the doorway, her hand raised in a small wave that Maya returned enthusiastically, bouncing along beside her grandfather without a care in the world. When they disappeared around the bend, Huyen finally let herself sink down onto the doorstep, her legs suddenly too weak to hold her up. The memories came rushing back with a vengeance. She remembered the day she had married Thuc, full of hope and dreams for their future. She remembered the gradual realization that her husband was not the man she thought he was, that he preferred gambling dens to his family, that he was willing to risk everything for a quick thrill. She remembered the shame of his arrest, the way neighbors had whispered and pointed. But most painfully, She remembered the day her mother-in-law had screamed at her to get out, accusing her of being bad luck, of bringing shame to the family. Where had Thuc been during all those nights when Huyen had walked the streets with Maya in her arms, looking for a safe place to sleep? Where had he been when Maya had cried from hunger, when Huyen had to swallow her pride and beg strangers for help? He had been locked away, paying for his crimes, while his wife and daughter paid for them in a different way on the cold, harsh streets. The anger rose up in Huyen's chest like a living thing, hot and fierce. But then she thought of Day, dear patient Day, who had found her at her lowest point, who had offered help without asking for anything in return. Day had shown her what real love looked like, what it meant to be a true partner, a real father figure to Maya. He had taught her that people could change, that second chances were precious gifts. Maybe Thuc deserved that chance too. Maybe. The journey to the prison took longer than the old man had anticipated. Maya's little legs grew tired, and he had to carry her for part of the way. She rested her head on his shoulder, asking questions about her father in her sweet, high-pitched voice. What does Daddy look like, Grandpa? Is he tall like Uncle D? Does he know how to make toys like Uncle D does? Each question was a knife to the old man's heart. This child barely knew her own father, and it was partially his fault. He had been away working, trying to provide for the family, while his wife had made terrible decisions in his absence. He still didn't know the whole truth about what had happened, but he was beginning to suspect that the story his wife had told him wasn't complete. The way Huyen had looked at him today, with that mixture of pain and restraint, told him there was much more to the story than he knew. When they finally arrived at the prison, the atmosphere changed dramatically. The gray walls loomed overhead, casting long shadows across the courtyard. Guards stood at attention, their faces stern and expressionless. Maya clutched her grandfather's hand tighter, her earlier excitement giving way to nervousness. "It's okay, sweetheart," the old man whispered, squeezing her hand gently. "Daddy is inside, waiting to see you. He's going to be so happy." They were led through a series of corridors, each one seeming more oppressive than the last, until finally they reached the visiting room. It was a sparse space, with a long table and chairs on either side, separated by a low barrier. Not a full glass partition like in some prisons, but enough to prevent physical contact beyond a hand reaching through a small opening. They sat down and waited. Maya swung her legs back and forth, humming a little tune that Huyen often sang to her. The old man's heart raced with anticipation and worry. How would Thuc look? How would he react to seeing his daughter after 3 long years? Would Maya be frightened? Then the door on the other side opened and Thuc walked in, escorted by a guard. The old man barely recognized his own son. Thuc had lost weight, his frame more angular than he remembered. His hair was cut short, almost to the scalp, and his face was covered with an uneven beard, but it was his eyes that showed the biggest change. They held a depth of sorrow and regret that hadn't been there before, a maturity forced upon him by harsh circumstances. When Thuc's eyes fell on Maya, they widened in disbelief and filled instantly with tears. He stumbled slightly, caught off guard by the wave of emotion that crashed over him. This was his daughter, his little girl who had been only 3 years old when he last saw her, now 6 and growing so fast. She looked so much like Huyen, with those same delicate features, those same expressive eyes. "Maya," he breathed, his voice cracking. "My baby girl." Maya looked up at him with curiosity, this stranger who was crying at the sight of her. She remembered her mother's instructions and gave him a small smile. "Hello, Daddy," she said softly, her voice carrying across the barrier that separated them. Those 2 simple words broke something inside Thuc. He sat down heavily in the chair, covering his face with his hands as sobs racked his body. The old man had to turn away, his own emotions threatening to overwhelm him. He had seen his son at his worst during the early days of imprisonment, when Thuc was angry and defiant, blaming everyone but himself for his situation. But this Thuc, this broken, remorseful man, was someone he hadn't seen before. Maya looked at her grandfather with concern, not understanding why this man was crying so much. The old man nodded encouragingly. "It's okay, sweetheart. Your daddy is just very happy to see you. Why don't you tell him what your mommy said?" Maya brightened, remembering her mission. She leaned forward, her small voice filled with innocent hope. "Daddy, Mommy says you need to come home soon. And you need to buy me a teddy bear, okay? A big one, this big." She stretched her arms out wide, demonstrating the size of the teddy bear she wanted. Thuc looked up at his daughter, tears streaming down his face, but a smile breaking through despite the pain. "A teddy bear?" he repeated, his voice hoarse. Yes, yes, baby. Daddy will buy you the biggest teddy bear you've ever seen. I promise." He reached forward, his hand stretching through the small opening in the barrier. Maya looked at her grandfather, who nodded. She reached out her tiny hand and placed it in her father's much larger one. The moment their skin touched, Thuc felt as though his heart might burst. He couldn't hold her, couldn't wrap her in his arms the way a father should be able to hold his child. But this simple touch of her small hand in his was more than he had dared to hope for. It was everything. It was proof that she existed, that she was real, that despite all his failures, he had created this beautiful, innocent life. "I'm so sorry, Maya," Thuc whispered, knowing she was too young to understand the depth of what he was apologizing for. "Daddy made so many mistakes, but I'm going to fix them. I promise. I'm going to be the father you deserve. I'm going to make your mommy proud. I'm going to come home, and we're going to be a family." Maya tilted her head, processing his words with the simple logic of a child. "Uncle D takes good care of us," she said matter-of-factly. "He built us a house, and he teaches me how to count. He's very nice. Do you know Uncle D, Daddy?" The question hit Thuc like a physical blow. Uncle D. There was another man in his daughter's life. Another man filling the role that should have been his. The jealousy that flared up was quickly extinguished by shame. He had no right to be jealous. He had abandoned them through his own selfish actions. If another man had stepped up to care for his family when he couldn't, then he should be grateful, not resentful. "No, baby, I don't know Uncle D," Thuc said quietly. "But he sounds like a very good man. You listen to him and your mommy, okay? Be a good girl." They talked for a few more minutes, though to Thuc, it felt like only seconds. Maya told him about her life in the mountains, about the chickens and the garden, about her mother's cooking and Uncle Day's stories. Thuc listened to every word, memorizing every detail, storing these precious moments away in his heart. He asked her questions, wanting to know everything, wanting to make up for 3 years of absence in just a few minutes. But all too soon, the guard approached and tapped his watch. Time was up. Thuc's face crumpled with fresh grief. "No, please, just a little longer," he wanted to beg, but he knew it was useless. Rules were rules, especially in a place like this. "I have to go now, sweetheart," Thuc said, trying to keep his voice steady for her sake. "But I'll see you again, okay? Tell Mommy thank you. Tell her I said thank you for letting you come. And tell her I'm sorry. Can you remember that?" Maya nodded solemnly, though she wasn't entirely sure what she was supposed to remember. "Bye-bye, Daddy," she said, waving her small hand. "Don't forget about my teddy bear." Thuc laughed through his tears. "I won't forget, baby. I promise. Daddy loves you so much." He watched as the guard led them out, his daughter's small figure disappearing through the door. He sat there long after they were gone, his hand still extended where it had touched hers, as if he could hold on to that sensation forever. As Maya and her grandfather made their way back home, the little girl chattered about her father, already processing the experience in her own way. "Grandpa, why was Daddy crying so much? Did I make him sad?" The old man pulled her close. "No, sweetheart. You made him the happiest man in the world. Those were happy tears. Sometimes grown-ups cry when they're very, very happy." Meanwhile, back in his cell, Thuc lay on his narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. The visit had shaken him to his core. Seeing Maya, touching her hand, hearing her voice, it had made everything real in a way it hadn't been before. For 3 years, his daughter had been an abstract concept, a memory he clung to but couldn't quite grasp. Now she was real again, flesh and blood, growing up without him. And there was this Uncle D, this man who was there for his family when he wasn't. The thought both humbled him and filled him with a fierce determination. He would get out of here. He would reform himself completely. He would prove to the authorities, to Huyen, to his daughter, and most importantly to himself, that he could be a better man. He would earn back the right to be called a father. This story reminds us that life is never simple, that people are never just good or bad, but complex beings capable of both tremendous mistakes and remarkable growth. Today, Huyen made one of the most difficult decisions a person can make. She chose to put aside her own pain and anger to give her daughter a chance to know her father. That kind of strength, that kind of grace, is rare and beautiful. Thuc, for his part, experienced a moment that may well define the rest of his life. Sometimes we need to lose everything to understand what truly matters. Sometimes we need to hit rock bottom before we can begin the climb back up. The road ahead for this family is uncertain. Will Thuc truly change? Will he earn back the trust he so carelessly threw away? Only time will tell. But today, in that brief moment when a father held his daughter's hand through a barrier, something shifted. A seed of possibility was planted. Maya will grow up knowing that even when people make terrible mistakes, redemption is possible. She'll learn that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but it does mean choosing not to let the past poison the future. And perhaps, just perhaps, Thuc will emerge from this experience as the man his family needs him to be. As for Huyen and Day, their story continues, built on a foundation of real love, sacrifice, and commitment. That's the kind of love that lasts, the kind that doesn't crumble at the first sign of hardship. Thank you for joining us today for this emotional chapter. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and the power of forgiveness, please share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to follow more of Day and Huyen's journey. Until next time, may you find the courage to forgive, the strength to grow, and the wisdom to know the difference. Goodbye, dear friends.